Hello, welcome back to my solo Advanced Dungeons and Dragons first edition campaign set in Greyhawk. It's been a while, and I thought we'd get another video on the list here today. If you recall, last time we met, or I filmed, we talked about the starting hex. We've chosen Ket as our nation, and hex I-5-109 in northern Ket is the hex we have chosen for our adventures and our starting hex. And if you recall, I did randomly generate the terrain using the Dungeon Master's Guide, which was good fun. And we chose a starting village by the name of Lorabas. And I think I went over Lorabas a little too quickly last time. So today I'm going to take a little bit of time to, spotlight Lorabas as a village and talk about the starting inn and some of the NPCs there, how it will progress as we move forward. And then I want to take the opportunity to introduce you to our starting player characters. So with that said, let's dig a little deeper into Lorabas, the village. So Lorabas is a fortified village in north central Ket, approximately 60 miles south of the Yaddle Mountains and 100 miles east of Mulvar. It came into being a short 40 years ago, 536 of the Common Year, to commemorate Bagraf Zoltan's defeat of the remnants of Ket's previous conquerors, the Brazen Horde. The population in the village is 800. It's not a small village by any stretch, but also not big enough to be a town. The ruler is General Hadar. He is a 8th level fighter who's been put here to run Lorabas and clear out the wilderness surrounding it to make it safer for the people that live in Ket. Hadar has his own ambitions as well. We won't get into that today because he's too high level right now for any first level characters to get sort of FaceTime with. So there is going to be building of both Hadar as a character and his retinue around him, and we'll meet them along the way. As far as how Lorabas looks right now, as of right now, I have this home base. I know who's ruling the town. I know the government and all this stuff, and we'll go through that right now. And I know what the starting inn looks like. But as we start getting out there and doing delves and coming back, we learn more about the town. The town will become more fleshed out as we go along. So it's a little bit of a skeleton right now, but I think that's how a campaign should evolve. So as far as Lorabas right now, again, population of 800. The government is theocratic, so they do belong to the nation of Ket, which is ruled by his illustrious glory Zoltan. But Hadar pays only lip service to him because he doesn't really see him that often. And again, he has his own agendas too, right? The alignment of the village is lawful neutral, with a lawful good minority. So there's not a lot. It's not like an evil town. It's not chaotic. It's very, it's very lawful. The wealth in the village is average, or the wealth of the village is average, but the appearance is ragged. So it's showing signs of wear and economic decline. Cue the adventurers, if you will, to bring, riches and goods back to the village to, bolster it up. It is a market village for trade and crops, but it also has a silver resource. There are a number of caves in the hills surrounding in this wilderness that have silver veins. So that is a resource that it has too. As far as the citizens in Lorabas goes, this is a general look at the citizenry. Their disposition is easygoing. Their energy level is normal. Their materialism is aesthetic. So they like gilded things. They like beautiful things. Not necessarily practical things. They just like, they like beautiful things. Their piety is average. So they're not super pious like the Bay Graph is. And because they're so far from where the Bay Graph is, it's understandable that they're not as pious as the entire nation. The honesty of the villagers is they're very honorable. And the interests of the villagers, the general main interests are legends and rumors, because there's legends of lost treasure, magical items, and things that might be in the wilderness that, would be very interesting to adventurers as well. And then I got a recent event in here. There was a plague that they're getting over, which is probably may lead back to the ragged and signs of wear and economic decline. If you have a number of people that died in the plague, and so there are roles and jobs that aren't being done by people who are experts at it or at all, and they'll let things go by the wayside, and it'll ragged and look like it has wear, right? So that's Lorabas at a very high level. And the one part of town, like I said, we'll flesh it out later, the whole town later. The one part of town that I do have a keen interest in at the very start is the inn. And the home base inn is called the Brazen Monkey. The description is the Brazen Monkey is a 3-story stone structure with a common area on the main floor, appointed with tasseled pillows on low divans in the serving area. There are stables and kitchens also in the main level area. They're outside of this, but they are part of the structure as well. The second floor consists of 10 small rooms, while the third floor consists of 3 larger rooms for important guests and dignitaries. So there's not a lot of room at the inn. There's 13 rooms in total, right? The innkeepers, so this is run by a husband and wife team who have 2 children who are servers in the inn and tavern. And this is where our first sort of interaction happens, right? So the innkeeper's name is Zahab, and he is married to Aurelia. Zahab, now I want to go back here again to, we generated the NPCs using the NPC characteristics in the Dungeon Master's Guide, right? And so I think we talked about it last time, but let's just look at it again. Oh, there's my dog who wants to let everybody know that he doesn't want to be ignored. But as of right now, this is not his time to shine. So he's gonna have to hang out here while we go through this. One of the beautiful things about the Dungeon Master's Guide is every time you open it up, you'll find something new to read or something you haven't seen in a while. And that's always fun to dive into. But that also makes it a little more difficult to find things unless you look at things consistently. It makes it a little more difficult to find those things as well. Right. So non-player characters personae is 106. Right. So if you recall, or if you're not aware, the non-player characters personae are on page 100 and 101 are the ones that we're using, right? So when I do when I do the NPCs sort of high level, we'll just do a couple to sort of figure out and develop a persona for them, that so that they're able to, like, you know, role play without me being heavy-handed about it. So it can be sort of more, the roles are determining how things go. So there's that. The innkeeper's name is Zahab, and he is opinionated, but diplomatic. So we're going with general tendencies and personality. So he's opinionated. You know, he thinks everything that he says is right. And you know, to heck with anybody else. But he's diplomatic because he is, you know, a businessman, a proprietor of the inn and tavern, and so that that helps him out too. So if you look at sort of how this affects reactions, is that his opinionated nature gives him a negative 1 to 8% in reactions, but his diplomatic nature or personality gives him plus 1 to 8%. So it may end up being a wash, but we'll see when we roll 1 to 8. We'll figure it out. His wife Aurelia, it's a little different than him. She's warlike and aggressive, so she's negative to her reaction, and she's antagonistic, negative to her reaction as well. So she's over, you know, not overwhelmingly, but overall she's going to be difficult to deal with. But she holds the money. She makes sure that everything's paid up, and there aren't any problems in the inn and tavern. Zahab is just like, he owns the business and he is the personality behind the business, but his wife is like the real, you know, she's a real one that you want to go the wrong side of. So Zahab and Aurelia represent the true mingling of cultures as befitting to Ket. Zahab is Backloonish, and Aurelia is Suel. They have 2 children who help serve at the end. The first server is Lalam, that's their son. He's a practical joker and a bit aloof. And Tatiana, their daughter, is careless and abrasive. And normally, she's abrasive when it's with her mother. They don't get along. That's what I'm reading into that. Because she's a server, she can't be super abrasive. She's abrasive to customers that aren't great, but she's also, more importantly, abrasive to her mother. What do they serve at the inn and the tavern? Well, roast lamb, perfumed stews, stuffed fruits and vegetables, and on occasion they do serve venison. As far as drink goes, there's wine, ale, and tea. And I do imagine there are like hookah pipes in the inn as well. The entertainment, there would be entertainment in the inn, and we'll roll to see what kind of entertainment is available at any given time when the heroes actually end up being there, and we'll decide whether or not there's a storyteller, a singer, a dancer, a snake charmer, a minstrel, or a group of musicians. Again, sort of high level too, that's what the inn looks like. Okay, so we did that, and now we're going to get into, once we start playing, we'll roll up who's in the inn when the characters are there. And I might do some of like the first stuff behind the scenes so we can get going on our adventure the next time we get together. But here we're at, who are our characters? And I did roll the characters up randomly. I did do 4 sets of 46 down the line, drop the lowest, and this is what we came up with. And we'll see, they're rather interesting as a group, and I think they have potential, but by no means are they super characters by any stretch of the imagination. So our first our first character that we roll up is, surprise, surprise, he is a fighter. He is a human male, level 1. He comes from 8 miles east of Lorabas, so he's a bit of a local. He's within the 30-mile hex. And we'll find out like where exactly that is as we get going later on. He has a 15 strength, a 16 intelligence, so he's smarter than he is strong. He's not very wise, 8 wisdom. Dexterity is 12, so pretty average. Constitution is 14, and charisma is 11. He is neutral good alignment. He is 16 years old. Now I did roll these ages and weights and skills and everything randomly from the Dungeon Master's Guide as well. So he's 16. He's a young buck. He's 5'5", so he's not very tall, and he's 151 pounds. His skill is he's a woodworker, tables, cabinets, chairs, maybe. He is also very opinionated and diplomatic. He has 10 hit points, an armor class of 6, and his weapon proficiencies, he has 4, but the things that he's not proficient with is only -2. He has a movement rate of 9. We'll see why in a bit. And he has no spells or class specialties. And I did mention this last time too, that, you know, I'm a big fan of like raw power through miniatures, and so this is Farouk. I think he's Byzantine miniature. Yeah, I think he's pretty good, pretty cool. Okay, so that's Farouk, our fighter, and then this one ended up being probably, well, they're all interesting in a way. So this one here, the next one is our magic user. His name is Zawar, the Opulent. And I'll tell you why in a minute, why he got the sobriquet, the Opulence. But he's a magic user. He is human. He's a male, level 1. He's local. He's from Lorabas. And I rolled that randomly, and we'll get to his stake in the game in a minute, but like his strength is 12. His intelligence is 17, great for a magic user. His wisdom is 12. His dexterity 7. His constitution, however, is 15, so he does have a bonus to his hit points. And his charisma is 14, high average level. He is neutral. He's 28 years old. He's 6 feet 2 inches tall, and he's 155 pounds. So he's a bit of a beanpole. Now his skill is husbandry, and he works with horses. His tendencies are he's a pessimist, and his personality is he's a bit abrasive. He has 5 hit points, armor class of 10, 1 weapon proficiency, -5 to those he's not proficient with, movement 9, 1 spell that he can cast per day, but he knows Read Magic, Shield, and Shocking Grasp. And he, more than likely, when he goes adventuring, he is going to memorize a shield. So, I say, so he's local, which is fantastic, and he does husbandry for horses. So here's the deal. I was thinking that he worked at the Brazen Monkey, stabling horses, because he's a good husbandman. But he wants more out of his life, and he wants to find that through finding magic and becoming more powerful. And here is his character. So he's a bit, or sorry, his miniature. So he's a bit. This is funny. I was looking at this. He looks a bit like, from a distance, he looks a bit like Ronald McDonald, because his hat's red, and he's got like a yellowish kind of robe with red boots. But that's all he can afford, because he's not very he doesn't have a lot of money. and I guess people would make fun of him for his clothes. And they called him the opulent, like sarcastically, I suppose. But now he's got a chip on his shoulder, and he's going to come back powerful, and he's going to make them regret it. Or we'll see. We'll see if how it turns out for him. But that's Zawar the opulent, and we'll get because he's the local. He's local. He's from Lorabas. He knows Zahab, the innkeeper. He works for him, so he'll be a kind of our mouthpiece. And it turns out, and spoiler alert here, he has the highest charisma, so he is going to be the mouthpiece for the team. Okay, those are our first two, and let's go to the second half of our characters. The next one is Jizna Bint. She is a cleric of Istis, who's the goddess of fate. She is also human. She's female. First level, she came to town from 20 miles east, so she's just on the edge of that 30-mile hex. Or she's outside of the 30-mile hex, I suppose. And if we ever go to the next hex east, we can develop that, where she came from. She has a strength of 15, intelligence of 13, wisdom of 15, dexterity of 13, constitution of 11, and charisma of 8. My goodness. She's lawful neutral. She's 22, 5'1", 114 pounds. So she's not very big either. She has no discernible skill. Her tendencies are she's a joker and a prankster, and her personality is diplomatic. She has 8 hit points, and armor class is 7, 2 weapon proficiencies, -3 for non-skilled weapons, movement at 9, spell casting. Because of her 15 wisdom, she gets 3 first level spells, and she knows cure light wounds, she will pray for 2 cure light wounds and a sanctuary before she goes. It's interesting to note about Jizna, or I was thinking about it too, right? So she's got a horrible charisma. She's a joker, and people don't really find her joking, especially they don't know her. Her joking, it doesn't go over very well with people. And being a person who is from a temple and a cleric, being a prankster doesn't really fit the mold. So I was thinking, the temple kicked her out and said, you know what, you got to go see the world, and you're a bit naive. You had a bit of an attitude, and they want her to be humbled in some way, and so they told her to get out and see the world, and so she's done that, and she feels compelled to do it in a way as well, because she's not really welcome back at the temple. I was thinking, I think Jizna is it's like a minor nobility from somewhere, and her parents knew that she was trouble too, and she was spoiled and had a bit of an attitude, so they sent her to the temple to be trained as a cleric in the order, and the temple was like, she's a bit much too, let's kick her out into the world and let her find her own way, with Istis's blessing. So I think she's going to be interesting too, right? And here's her character. She's wearing scale mail, and she's wearing ring mail, and she's got a big mace. So she's as armored as Farouk too, right? And then our fourth character is Mumala. He's a fighter thief, half-orc fighter thief. He's a male. He comes from 90 miles north, so into the Yaddle Mountains. He has a strength of 16, an intelligence of 11, a wisdom of 9, a dexterity of 9, a constitution of 15. Oh, I didn't do this. He does have a charisma of, I think it's, so I had, surprisingly enough, here's my dirty notes as I was making them. So Mumala has a charisma of 8. But it jumps up to a 10 when he's dealing with orcs. Or other half-orcs. Okay, so Mumala has Constitution 15, Charisma of 8 as well. So we don't have a very charismatic group, right? And that's why Zawar is going to be the mouthpiece and the leader for them. Interesting to note, Mumala is a thief, but his dexterity is the minimum required to hit the thief threshold. So he's a fighter thief, but he's not the, he's more of a like a bandit than a thief. He is a bit of a wild card. He's chaotic neutral. 24 years old. 6'2", 176 pounds. His skill is husbandry as well, but he's good at taking care of goats. His tendencies are barbaric, and his personality is forceful. So he's gonna be, he could be a problem. But I can see Mumala being, the heavy. And I think it's great. He has 9 hit points, armor class of 8, 4 weapon proficiencies, movement of 9. These are his thief skills. But yeah, so he's moved silently because he's a half orc and because he has a bad dexterity. His move silently is a negative 5%. He can't move silently. Can't do it. It's interesting to note too, and I was coming up with the background for these people, partially random and partially, connecting the dots. So Mumala comes from the Yaddle Mountains, okay? And he has husbandry for goats. So he was a goat herd in like a village in the mountains. And he came to town because when we rolled up the gold pieces, he showed up with the most gold pieces out of anybody. So the background that I'm thinking of is like he robbed all, they treated him poorly. He's a half orc. And they treated him poorly, so he robbed them of their goods or their monies and then took off to find his place in the world and find, find greatness or find riches as well. I mean, that's a great story. He steals all their money. He comes out of the mountains. He's a bit of a, got a screw loose at chaotic neutral. And he knows how to handle goats. He is barbaric and forceful. We know that from his personality and his general tendencies. I think it fits. So he stole the money from the village, and then he showed up at Lorabas with this money, right? And so he had more money than anybody else to start the game. Those are, and here is our half-orc Mumala. I guess he's a good looking one too. Get some, some hides down here, a lot of skin showing. A hand and a half sword, which we'll get to in a bit too. Right. So those are our characters. I think these people are good to go. We are using encumbrance rules. Everybody is not over encumbered. They're heavy, so they can move 9. But they all have room. So So he has 5. So Farouk has 520. He's encumbered, right? So yeah. So he's heavy, if you will. So he had 100 gold, but he spent it all, right? So he only has 13 gold pieces left. Zawar has 612 encumbered, so he's sort of heavy too. Noted about Zawar, he didn't have enough money. We're gonna talk about that in a second. He's only got 15 silver pieces left. Of course, the most important, he didn't roll high because he's kind of poor, right? He didn't roll high, and he spent obviously almost all of his money on a spellbook. Then Jizna, she's got 5 gold pieces left. She is what is she sitting at? She's sitting at 822, which is heavy. So a 9. She moves in a 9. Mumala, 887. He's also heavy. He had 150 gold. This is what we started with: 100, 60, 70, 150. So he had more than anybody else, right? And he still has 40 gold left over. And so he has a Tulwar, which is I'm treating it as a broadsword, but he can use it two-handed if he wants to. Jizna has a footman's flail. Zawar has a dagger. And Farouk has a longsword and a dagger as well. And then boots and all the accoutrements and stuff they needed to eat, drink, and dungeoneer, if you will. You know, lanterns, sacks, water skins, rations. So they're all sort of encumbered, but they have room, right? So because people are of a certain strength, right? Farouk can go to 1100. Zawar can go to 900. Jizna can go to 1100. Mumala can go to 1400 before they get very heavy and they have to go into the 6. So I think they're pretty decent in their movements right now, and we're gonna keep an eye on this stuff. So we're gonna talk about some of the money is here, right? And so and this is something from inspiration. I took this from the Joy of Wargaming channel, and there's the feeling. Here's my book that has some of my dirty notes before I put them into the book, right? Interactions. Okay. And so when they say upkeep for characters is 100 gold pieces per level per month, right? In the Dungeon Master's Guide. So it's 100 gold pieces for our first level characters right now, our first month. And that represents, Zahab holding the room for them, taking care of any storage needs that they may have, feeding them, entertainment in the inn and tavern, stabling their horses. They don't have any horses, but stabling anything they may need. And then just as sort of a network to other NPCs in town. So each one of them owes $100 a month, but they're not well known, right? So, and we talked about Zahab's tendencies, right? So he's opinionated and diplomatic, so he's a bit of a wash. I did roll an encounter, or I did roll sort of a reaction with him, and it didn't go very well. And so this is how I'm reading it, right? So we're going to call this day -1, and I'm going to clean this up a bit, right? So we're starting on the star day, the 1st of flock time, which is, analogous to May in our calendar. But so we'll start star day, the 1st of flock time. This is like good adventuring season, and all that stuff. So Zohar, Farouk, Jizna, and Mumala meet in the Brazen Monkey Inn and discuss the idea of adventuring together to seek their fortune and make names for themselves. Zahab, the innkeeper, knows Zohar as a local and a competent horse handler. He is concerned that Zohar and his strange companions won't make it as adventurers and demands a 10% down payment on their monthly room and board of 100 gold pieces per person. So deduct 10 gold pieces from each person, which is what I've done for 2 of them. So we look at gold pieces people have. It's going to be an encumbrance chart, right? So we have Farouk's current is 13. The asterisk indicates that he did pay that 10 gold pieces. Mumala, his current gold pieces count is 40. The asterisk indicates he did pay that 10 gold pieces at 10%. Jizna has 5 gold pieces. She has not yet paid that. Zohar, poor Zohar, has 15 silver pieces. He has not paid his 10% down payment. So they're gonna get room and board for 2 of them, and then they're gonna go out and do their first delve and hopefully come back with at least 10 gold pieces a person so that they can get their 10% down payment. But until that happens, Zahab's not gonna hold rooms for all of them. It's a shame because he does know Zohar. He does know that he's a competent horse handler, but he thinks it's a fool's errand that these people are going out adventuring, and he thinks it's wrong, or he thinks they're not going to do well. So going back to the joy of wargaming, 100 gold pieces a person per month because they're first level. If you can't pay 100 gold pieces, if they don't get 100 gold pieces in treasure to pay the innkeeper each for the first month, it's game over, right? It's like they failed adventurers and they have to go back to their old lives, their old professions, because they gave it a shot and they failed at it. So it's very important, and that's why there's the impetus for them to get money as quickly as possible, so they can pay these things and they can pay for their adventuring career. It's barely got off, it hasn't even got off yet, right? And so they want to do that. They have no credit, nobody knows them, and so they have to, the money has to speak for itself. So this is where like the time constraint comes in, and people need to get out there and adventure and make money, because if they don't, adventuring's not for everybody. And maybe that's the best thing. If they fail at it because they don't make enough money, they go home and they do the thing that they used to do. The other alternative is they die in the dungeon. So that's what, this is what makes the adventuring life exciting, but also nerve-wracking, and also makes them anxious and makes them want to go on the road all the time. And it's like they're rock stars. They want to be rock stars. They don't want to give up the dream of, getting rich quick or die trying, right? And so that's where we're at. And I'm glad I had the opportunity to go through sort of the characters, the starting in, and do a little bit more on Lorabas, the village, before we get going. The next time we get together, next time I have a video, we'll be kicking them out and getting them to go into the wilds. There is a place of interest that will have, dungeons and treasure and monsters, and we'll see how far we get. So until next time, Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for watching. We'll see you later.